So BET had a conversation with Black voters in which they went out to talk about the current administration and the current upcoming general election. And within that conversation, they asked the Black voters specifically questions along the lines of what are the top issues, who are they voting for, how do they feel, so forth, so forth. And what we're going to watch today is going to be a small clip from a panel that they did on the BET network, pretty much just asking those who are attending at HBCU. I believe this is Clark University, I believe. I don't know if they're just hosting it at there or I don't know if they're just hosting it at Clark or if they're students that they're I don't know if they're just hosting it at Clark or if the students that they're talking to or the people they're talking to are students at Clark. Bam. So we're going to watch this and then we're going to tell y'all my thoughts and opinions about this. So let's get into it.
Most important issue to you in this election?
Austin Euler is a Democrat.
I think the biggest thing is start looking more in-house on our issues rather than always trying to be the world's savior.
Ajankaya Sumas is an independent.
Protecting my rights as a Black woman, my right to abortion. I don't think any man should have any say in what I choose to do with my body.
And Jacob Jones is a Republican.
If we can just take steps towards clearing our debt, I feel like it'll be a better nation, a better country.
How are you feeling about this election?
I don't know if you can see me sweating right now. It just feels like it's the same as last time, and you're really basically forced to vote between two older people.
You used the word forced.
Okay, so they are students at Clark Atlanta. So they are not only hosting it at Clark Atlanta, but they're speaking to students at Clark Atlanta. So 2, I like that they have a diverse, like a Democrat, independent, and a Republican. 3, that question and his big sigh, that speaks volume as it is. I feel like that's literally like 90% of America. Whenever you ask them about how do they feel about this upcoming general election, it's just a big... It's almost like, how are we supposed to feel at this point? Really, honestly and truly, how are we supposed to feel?
Yeah, it does feel kind of forced. If you go back to the Trump era, there's always going to be something in the news. If you want to stick with the Biden era, you have to just deal with the fact that a lot of people already have a viewpoint on him. All the good things he's done, it's hard to change someone's mind.
As a younger voter, I don't want somebody who's many generations ahead of me, Biden being one of the oldest presidents, and he's fairly older. Same with Trump.
I think of President Biden, he kind of sold a dream that he couldn't accomplish. His famous quote was that for African American, you weren't Black if you didn't vote for Joe Biden.
What do you think of former President Trump?
I think President Trump was a bad people's person, but a great leader. He put our economy in a booming state. He provided a permanent funding for all HBCUs.
This is also the same president who, when 5 minority young boys were arrested in New York for a crime they didn't even commit, said that we need to bring back the death penalty. So from a moral perspective, I can't agree or stand behind somebody when we have COVID-19 going around and you're calling it the Chinese flu.
How many of you?
Those are solid points. Those are solid points. Number 1, the Democrat that said that they feel forced. I understand what he means by that, but I never want people to feel like they're forced to vote for Biden or they're forced to vote for Trump. Like, you have the full authority of your ballot. Like, no one can tell you how to cast it at the end of the day. 2, the Republican, he made a solid point because he said what a lot of people say about Donald Trump. He's not a people's person, but he's a good policy person. Mitt Romney said the same thing. Mitt Romney said from a character standpoint, he can't even cast his ballot towards Trump, mainly because of who Trump is as a person. Even though he agrees with a lot of Trump's domestic policies, he can't see himself voting for someone like Trump. 3, the independent who brought up the exonerated 5 of how he blatantly said at that given time that we should bring back the death penalty. And I truly believe, like, sometimes Trump doesn't fully understand, like, when you're on a certain platform or when you have a certain impact, your words hold more weight. Like, you can't just say certain things and think that it's like, oh, okay, like, it's just me saying my opinion. Like, there's a trickle effect, not only with Trump, but people in positions of power. You have to understand you are responsible for a lot of you hold a lot of weight when you have that big of a responsibility where a lot of eyes are looking at you, a lot of people are looking at you for guidance and so forth. I think sometimes Trump doesn't fully understand that nor comprehend that, but I did like the fact that the Republican did bring up the notion about Joe Biden, about the comment he made. I think that comment is going to live for Joe Biden honestly forever. I don't think he can ever like live past it, mainly because like when he first said it, people were like, wait, what? Now that it's actually like sinking in and people are realizing, yo, he really actually just said you're not black if you vote for Trump. Like, it's, you know, where you like when something happens and then you step back, you be like, yo, that really happened. I think that's where the people are at. Another thing that I don't like is people bringing up the age. For me personally, the age never really been an issue. It wasn't necessarily the age, it's more so the capability. That's why a lot of people always use Joe Biden's age against him and not Donald Trump's age against him. Or people use Joe Biden's age against him and they don't use Bernie Sanders' age against him. Because with Joe Biden, it kind of shows, but when you see like Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump, it doesn't really show. But when you look at like Mitch McConnell, for example, it shows. So I think that's where like the age component comes in. But for me personally, age never really been like a deal breaker for me. And it's not really necessarily a deal breaker at this upcoming election either.
Think that there should be a third party ticket. All of you, do you want to vote in this election?
Oh, yes, I'm still going to vote.
So you're not going to sit it out?
No, I'd never do that.
I feel like sitting out and not voting is basically staying quiet and mute. Our vote is our voice. Sitting out is just basically you're not doing a justice to yourself.
To help close any potential
I'm not
enthusiasm.
gonna lie, I agree with that to a certain extent. I don't think people should be gaslit into voting. I do understand the historical context behind voting and the weight it holds, but for me, that's why I always like to emphasize local elections as well. Like, if you don't like what's on the top of the ballot, there's plenty of other people down the ballot that I'm sure that you would like once you do personal research on, and also the weight that it holds. Like, even if you don't like what's on top of the ballot, if you cast your ballot undecided, you are still using your voice. Whether people like the fact that you decided to choose undecided or not, that's not their business. But at the end of the day, you're still using your power and your voice in that manner. But I want to know your thoughts on the comments down below, specifically with the three individuals, the Clark Atlanta students, the Independent, the Democrat, and the Republican. Let me know what you think in regards to what they said and their responses. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you're notified whenever I post a new video. Follow me on my social media. On the road to 10K. Period. This is Udo at Connecting People with Policy. I love y'all all. God bless y'all. Toodles.